So if you're struggling with whether or not you should become a ball python breeder, let me tell you something. Everybody's not telling you the truth. And this video will discuss some of those things that people just aren't telling you.
These brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. These brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Paul with Spheric Reptiles. I thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, thank you for watching. If you're a continued watcher, hey, I hope that we're sharing with you some information that you can use or that's just entertaining or informative or something else. But like I said before in the beginning, there are some struggles that you are going to face when you're trying to decide on whether you should become a ball python breeder or not. And the truth of the matter is everybody's not telling you the full truth, right? So we just finished doing our taxes yesterday. I know we did them early, but that's one of the things that we learned. So stay on top of everything. We just did our taxes, and to let you know, we spent over $40,000 on ball pythons, and that's from travel to animals to everything. So that's something that I don't know if a lot of people tell you, is that you're going to continue to put money into this. But more than that, the number one thing you got to have is a love and a passion. But not saying that everybody should breed ball pythons, but this video hopefully will discuss some of the things that were really frustrating to me. And since I had to go through it personally and financially, even though we were prepared, it was still some things that I was like, man, why didn't someone just tell me that shit? And so that's what I'm gonna try to do here. So it seems like breeding ball pythons, and I know I'm talking about ball pythons, so let me just get one out. I'm gonna get out Prince here. He's our pastel yellow belly desert ghost. Prince is an acquisition that we got, and you can see just how pretty he is. He's pastel, of course, the desert ghost, back when they were talking about the genetics of them. So this was one of the things that I learned, is to make sure that you have what you have, right? So in the beginning, if you remember the genetic testing, there was an A and a B, and then later it proved that C was the better. So I got a scientific background, and I just think that, was there a C all along? I know this, I shouldn't even be doing that, but I am. So, but yeah, so he tested positive for, in the same allele for having A and C. B is irrelevant, but he happened to have all of them. One of the things that people just didn't tell me is to focus, right? No one was there to say, hey, youngster in the game, focus on two morphs that you're trying to get. So no one explained to me the differences in these morphs. I had to do a lot of, like, what did you say? What do you call it, baby? Snake porn? I had to watch a lot of and look at World of Ball Python. I was on top of YouTube videos. I was looking at Morph Market every day, trying to just get some kind of understanding. In fact, I would screenshots off Morph Market and send them to Shutterfly so that I could just put them all on the table and see if I could identify certain morphs. So like in 2 videos ago or 3 videos ago, when I had that clutch, and I still haven't got the results back. They haven't shed out yet. Well, actually they did. And now I'm just waiting to send the sheds off. I'm being lazy. Work is overloading me. But unless something like that happens, I have a pretty good grasp on what we have because I've done so much research on it. But in the beginning, man, let me tell you, it was frustrating to go to people and ask them about different morphs and not really have them to lead me in the right direction. Luckily, I have a couple of mentors that got me focused in the right direction, because coming from reptile keeping to potential reptile breeding, that was one of the things. So I didn't want to just go with a shotgun approach as I pull out yet another snake. And I'll pull out Mars right here. He's a pastel gravel head clown. He's a little baby. But you can just see just how pretty he is. But no one was really telling me about what the pattern morphs were or anything else like that. They were just kind of saying, well, hey, buy my snakes. And I mean, that's just truthfully, guys. People were saying, buy my snake. And, I was buying them. I mean, at the clip of about maybe 2 or 3 a month in the beginning. We definitely slowed down over the last year, but we still purchased over 10 snakes. That's just one of the things that I think that you should really focus on, just to be honest, is focus on maybe 1 or 2 genes that you just really want to focus on. And if you want to make one recessive or not, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're trying to produce that animal that's in your head that's going to make it work for you, right? So that's the number one thing is focus, focus, focus on what you want to breed. So if you have a couple of ball pythons, you probably got like 6 ball pythons by now, or maybe 10 ball pythons. And now all of a sudden you're thinking about breeding, but you got a lesser bongo. I'm just going to tell you what we had: a lesser bongo, a pastave, het hypo, yellow belly, a cinnamon phantom. We had a Batman. We had, I mean, none of these genes really work well together. So it makes your road a lot longer. So it was Lynn who actually told me to sit down and focus, because you're spending all this damn money. And make a plan. So I made the plan and just started a business. And that, I think, is what really helped us. And people should really stress that a lot more. That's why I'm wearing this shirt today. Will and Audra stress the plan and execution of the plan from the research more than anybody I've seen on social media, especially in this game. So it's definitely good to have them there with all their positivity, stressing that. And it just, I mean, I just feed on it. I know that they're in South Kakalaki, but I'm all the way down here in Texas, and you know, the message is well received, because at the end of the day, we love this, right? But at the end of the day, no one's telling you everything. Second thing that people should be telling you that they're not is the size of your enclosure means everything in the world of ball pythons, right? So if you have a boa constrictor, a crested gecko, you can have monitors, you can have all other types of snake species. They all seem to eat. There's very few snake species that eat rodents. Let me clarify that, because I know someone's going to say, well, I got a snake that only eats quail. Well, that's a specialized snake. Or one that only eats frogs. Well, of course. But when it comes to ball pythons, the size of the enclosure means everything. So I hate to say it, but because of where they're from in Western Africa, almost to the Congo, they really only have a good chance of living if they live in small burrows or something that's tight. So even if you have a large enclosure, you might see your ball python. I'm not saying that you don't, but if you have one ball python and you handle it and now it's used to you, that's one thing. But when you go to breeding, you're not going to hold your snakes, all of your snakes, every day. Like, we have a rotation and I try as hard as I can. And luckily I'm able to get through it. But now at this count, we got 78 ball pythons. And as I show you Daisy, our fire clown, and she has 2 of these homemade hides in here. And you can see, like, she is actually over 2 years old and she still has not reached the weight that she should as a fire clown or a female, right? So as a female, she should have already been over 1,500 grams by now at 2+ years. But you can see that she still has good body composition. She's not lacking in anything. I mean, in fact, she's healthy looking and she'll probably live for a long time. But I would think that because she's not on food, it was one of the 2 things that we did as a mistake. So the first thing is I put her in a really large enclosure, and she was eating at first and then she just went off food. When I say she went off food for a long time, guys. I mean, I'm talking over 7 months of eating nothing. So I kept weighing her. She didn't drop a lot of body weight, but she wasn't gaining any either. So one of the things that I found was that I needed to crowd her enclosures. I couldn't keep her in anything really small, so definitely wouldn't keep her in a hatchling tub, and I definitely wouldn't keep her in a 15-quart tub. So what I found that works best is this 40-quart tub with lots of room for her to roam around in with these hides. When I had a big water dish in there, she soaked, she got a respiratory infection. I'm just letting you know what people are not telling you. So I'm sharing with you all of the things that I had to go through with just this snake. So F10 and a humidifier, that really helped her out a lot. And now she's back on food, and hopefully maybe she'll be a breeder for us by the end of 2025. Who knows? I'm not going to rush her. It looks like she's about to go into shed now because I can feel her skin. It's not as smooth. And I keep it pretty humid in here. Well, we're in Texas, so it's generally humid anyway. But yeah, man. So that's one of the things. By putting these hides in here in this water dish, and then I'll mist this down twice a week. And we got the thermostats going back there. It really helped her to get back on food, but it seems like she just wants things that she can crawl through. And that's something that no one told me. But as a disclaimer, we do have snakes that eat no matter what. They eat like push come to shove or shit to high water. They coming, man. They coming to eat. And then we also have snakes that we have to encourage. So I think as a breeder, you would think that you want things streamlined, right? But I think it's also just to feed 78 animals from hatchling all the way up to adult last Saturday. It took us over 6 hours because some animals did not eat the frozen thawed. So I went with the live prey option, especially when it comes to hatchlings. I need to get them on food. I can't really afford for them not to because they don't have the fat reserves. And no one really told me how to do that. It was just kind of like feed frozen thawed, throw it in the bucket, put it out there, or give a live and watch it. Well, whenever I give a live prey item, which I definitely do not like doing before these animals, and sometimes you got to do that. I mean, it's just not what you would expect as a breeder, right? And then the amount of time that you spend is definitely going to be something that comes into play as far as your enthusiasm, unless you just absolutely love the shit like me. So, I'll go ahead and discuss the last thing, and hopefully this is helping you. Please let me know, and we'll get right to it. All right. So we're getting on to the last thing, and I'm trying to limit this to just 3, but what should you start out with? I think this is the biggest thing that is not really uniform across the industry is what should you start out with? Should you start out with all hatchlings? Should you start out with adults? Or should you start out with subadults? So what I've learned is that starting out with hatchling males is okay because they're going to grow up generally within a year. And so within that year, maybe year and a half, they will get to sexual maturity a lot faster. So what I'll do is I'll show you one of our first hatchlings. This is Prada, and he is a pastel Huffman Phantom het clown. And you can see the pattern on there, how wonky it is. And, he's part of the 8-ball complex with Huffman and part of the blue-eyed leucistic complex with the Phantom het clown, of course. But this guy was just born this year, right? So around April, and he's already up to about 500 grams. So
2024. This is 2025.
Oh, right. It is 2025. Well, he's still born in April. So not that long ago in the world, he was born or hatched. Let me say hatched. But so this is a male, and I would say start out with a male. If you can get a male this size, that would be great if you're trying to breed, because one of the things we found out in the beginning is we bought all hatchlings, right? So we bought really baby snakes like what I showed over here. Let me pull out another one just to show you the size that we were actually buying. It's got some poo in there. So we were buying snakes this size, right? And this is a double head clown pied, yellow belly, red stripe. And it's a male, or a female, I'm sorry. And we were buying snakes this size as a female. Let me take the poo out. And I'm gonna have to change that right after the video. Well, let me just stick her in the all new something until afterwards. Hatchlings poo a lot. But so it takes them a long time to get from that size up to this size right here. And this is Cody, and she's a full-grown adult female, 2,200 grams. And come here, Cody. So you can just see just how big a breeding size female needs to be. And it's hard to imagine that a female this size will breed with a male that's this size, right? I mean, plus or minus a couple of 100 grams. So, but that's what you're facing. So the one thing that I want to point out is her face. So you see how mature her face is, and you see how big it is and how developed it is. So that's what you really need to see when you have an adult female. So that's one of the things people don't tell you. So buy my hatchling, buy my hatchling, buy my hatchling. But if you want to breed, you need an animal, to be comfortable, that's around 2,200 grams if you want a viable, like a good egg clutch. And not to say that you can't get one, but it takes a while for your snake to get this big. So this is a snake that we are rehoming, and we're so glad we have her. But she is definitely healthy and ready to go. We just don't know if we're going to pair up with her. But as a breeder, that's something that you'd like to have as an option versus waiting for 2 years. And then as the case with the last fire clown that I showed that went off feed, then you got an issue. So what I'm going to suggest for the biggest thing that we learned is buy females as close to adult as what your pocketbook can afford. And then you can start off with the males, which are generally less expensive, and grow them up. So not saying to skimp on any genes, still say focus on part one. But hey, that's what we learned, guys. And, you know, so far, I hope that this is a good video for you because this is what I learned. I mean, your rodent supplier needs to be A1 unless you grow them. And then you still got to be on top of that. But man, I mean, I hope this video is helping you. It seems like I'm rambling, but I am kind of focused. It is kind of late. And we do have a show this weekend. So I'm kind of thinking about all that and some work stuff. But I thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you like this kind of video, let me know what you think. And if nothing else, guys, enjoy the time that you spend with your reptiles and cherish that time that you have with your families. Thank you.